So how would you get started with options? Well, I am not a financial advisor, so I can't tell you that, but I'm going to tell you how I got started. A good starting point for me was around 2,500 to 3 grand. And I started with stocks like SoFi, American Airlines, HIMS, Lyft. Those stocks are around in the 20s, 30s, which means, obviously you multiply that by 100 shares and you'll be able to get 100 shares for around $25 to $3,000. Maybe a little more if you push that budget up to 3,500. And if you have over 10K, then obviously the best stocks will be like Robinhood, Nvidia, Amazon. Stocks that been around for a while, have shown a lot of growth, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Now, SoFi and HIMS, and even Lyft, believe it or not, even though they're more popular now, those are actually still kind of stocks that we have no idea where they're headed in the future, right? Are they going to be successful or they're not? So far, it looks like they're doing good, but we don't know. So, companies like American Airlines, like Nvidia, like Amazon, like Google, like Apple and Tesla, we kind of have an idea that these stocks are going to be around for a while. However, most of those stocks cost more money, so you need more money to get into it. This is why you want to start small and start compounding your money so that you have enough to get into those stocks eventually. Because once you start running one contract on something like Nvidia or Amazon or Google, you'll make some decent income. And then if you reinvest that income, then you'll make a lot more income, obviously, because then you can buy two contracts later on. Now, in terms of the accounts, I have a link in my profile for Robinhood. And, Robinhood has both individual accounts and a Roth. But I think you should personally have both, or in my opinion. This is what I did. I opened up an individual account. This is for my income. This is for money, if I want to spend money and go on vacation, blah, blah, blah. I can give myself an extra paycheck, right? And then I also have a Roth. A lot of you already have a Roth IRA, which means you have money in there. So all you have to do is free up about 3 grand and you can get started selling options. Depending on what platform you're on, you also have to apply for options. So you got to show that you have a little bit of knowledge of options. So you got to apply to be able to sell options within your Roth IRA, and then it would allow you'll get approved, and then you'll be able to do options on that platform. And the reason I do that is because, of course, in the Roth, I can do as many transactions as I can, and I'm not getting taxed because it's tax-free. An individual account, any money I make in an individual account, I have to have a spreadsheet and keep track of that because I will have to pay taxes on that if I make any gains. However, that's like equivalent to having a second job, but I control it, right? So, when I get paid, I got to put the money aside for my taxes, and the rest of the money I can spend freely. Or I can reinvest it and try to grow my account so I could do multiple contracts and make more money. And then I would personally, what I did was I ran monthly contracts, not weekly. I'm actually trying to get into the whole weekly thing, but monthly, once you know what you're doing, monthly sometimes works better because, like I showed you in one of the examples in my earlier videos, if you happen to buy a monthly contract and get a high premium, and then the stock goes in your favor. So, for example, if you bought a put, you're trying to buy it at a discount, and the stock shoots up in like 2 days. You don't even have to wait a week or let alone the 30 days for that contract. Chances are you'll make like 50 to 80% of that premium right away, and then you can close that out. You can buy out the contract and make that money instantly. So you would actually make more money doing that than weeklies. However, I think a good strategy that I'm going to try is I want to try to build up my account to 2 contracts, and then I'll have one contract running monthly, the monthly wheel, and then I have another one running weekly wheel, the weekly wheel. And that way I can actually, test both of them and see, which one's making more money, which one's better. But obviously the monthly contracts with buying them out early, and a lot has to happen for that to work better than the weeklies because you have to get a decent premium. Stock has to go in your favor. So there's a few things that have to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then you actually have to wait the 30 days. As opposed to just waiting a week, you'll get less of a premium, but it's guaranteed income. It's like getting $15, $20, $30 every week. And of course, the benefit of the monthly contracts is that if it goes against you, you have a whole month for it to recover. So at least you'll get back to where you wanted to be. So this is kind of like where I would start. This is where I started specifically when I started trading options. The first thing I did was I started in my Roth IRA because my Roth IRA, I already had money in there. So all I did was whatever positions I had in there, I sold out $3,000 worth and freed that money up. Then I started selling options. So that's how I started, and then eventually I opened up an individual account, and that's the account that we are working with on this page right here. So that's about it, and that's how I got started. And you guys can do some research on other stocks because this is not the only ones that you can find, and see how that works for you.